The Eagles' new offense is about to look very different. That is, if you believe the Birds' #1 weapon on the outside. Plus, why Jordan Davis's name is coming up in trade talks for a certain all-world pass rusher. Oh, and the DBs are going to love the news out of New Orleans, but not the injury report that just dropped for Nolan Smith and Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. Good news for the Birds keeps rolling along, now 2 weeks removed from their Super Bowl 59 win, as the coaching dust has finally settled throughout the National Football League, which of course includes Kellen Moore, who just put the finishing touches on his new coaching staff that is not going to feature Eagles DB coach Christian Parker, as New Orleans just hired Chargers former head coach Brandon Staley to be their new DC. If you weren't keeping track of all the New Orleans coaching hires, this means a ton for Philadelphia because Parker actually interviewed for the Saints DC opening and apparently did a very good job. But not getting hired means he stays in Philadelphia, likely for one more season because he's eventually going to be a DC in the NFL. Long story short, if your name's Quinyon Mitchell or Cooper DeJean, you're pretty darn excited about the fact that Parker stays for one more year. We need to realize that for as good as Q and Coop were last season, they were still just rookies. Look at the leap that Jalen Carter had from his first season to year 2, or how about Nolan Smith going from a nobody year 1 to the Birds' best defensive end in year 2? Oh, and speaking of Nolan Smith, how about the report from Ian Rappaport over the weekend that Smith actually tore his tricep in the third quarter of the Super Bowl versus the Chiefs and had surgery on it this past Wednesday? Now, my guess is it was on this play, but nobody know for sure, but to me, it kind of looks like his arm goes limp, so I'd say it's a pretty darn good guess. What's crazy, though, is the fact that he left the field and then eventually came back on to finish the Super Bowl. I mean, is there really a tougher trio of Eagles in the entire National Football League in the biggest game of the season than Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson, and Nolan Smith? All three of whom had surgery right after the Super Bowl, and all three who absolutely balled out with those said injuries. The biggest bummer of all of this, though, is the fact that Nolan Smith's team reached out to myself and Josh Davis to play in his charity golf tournament in Savannah, Georgia at the end of March. Details on how you could play in that down below in the description box. And now that he has a torn tricep, I'm not sure Nolan Smith's going to be able to actually swing a golf club. Also, if you want to meet Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, and the rest of the Philly Dogs at the NovaCare Complex with myself and Josh Davis, well, we're doing a giveaway between our two channels for our subscribers, where we're going to bring a handful of subscribers up to Philadelphia sometime in the spring, probably April, May timeframe. Don't know for sure, but if you want to enter, make sure you go ahead and hit that sub button. Moving back to the offense, and A.J. Brown's recent media tour landed him on the NFL Network last week, and if you had any concerns about Kevin Patullo being the new Birds OC, well, how about the Birds' #1 receiver putting all of your concerns to bed?
They need to understand everything has to change. I know we just won, but it has to change. We have to get better, and we have to do things different. But I truly feel like it's a great hire. He already has been involved in almost everything. Him, Kellen, and Nick basically called the plays already. So it's a great hire, and he's already familiar with us. We have a great relationship, and he knows what we need to work on because he's been there, and he's been there for a while. And like I said, he's already been a part of all the situations and the conversations and everything. So I think it's a great hire.
Honestly, I could not agree more with A.J. Brown. For as great as the Eagles' offense was this past season, it's got to get a lot better if they want to repeat in 2025. Now, recency bias will tell you, Thomas, they scored the most points in the playoffs in NFL history, which is true, but we do tend to forget how slow the offense was in some games this season. Like, I mean, come on, 15 points versus the Saints, 16 in that stinker versus the Bucks. How about the slow starting 20-pointer versus the Browns, or even the 22-point kind of embarrassing win over the Panthers in December? For Philadelphia to repeat in 2025, the passing game must become more dynamic. It needs a little bit more creativity, and who better to do that than the Birds' previous passing game coordinator, at least since 2021, in Kevin Patullo. The Birds are going to be the most hunted team in the entire NFL in 2025, and my guess is every single defense that faces Philly next season is going to have a heavy emphasis on stopping Saquon Barkley. Something that, yes, is very hard to do, but not impossible, as at least the Chiefs showed in Super Bowl 59. Now, that obviously means more passing opportunities, and if they can connect on those like they did in the big game, this offense is going to be even scarier going forward. And again, Kevin Patullo, he's a passing game coordinator. He's all about throwing the football. Not to say he's not going to run, but listen to him explain these passing concepts during his previous time in Philadelphia.
Yeah, so you look at AJ, I mean, he's very technical in what he does. He loves to study tape. But if you go back to this play right here, when the play's all set up, the first piece is up top, right? So we're going to read, do we have access to throw this over here? It's 2 over 2. We don't like the look. So now we know AJ's one-on-one, and then Dallas by this coverage is one-on-one. So if you let it run a little bit here, you can see AJ on this release, he knows he has pressed man. Now, if you go back a little bit, if you watch what's happening with the corner's feet, he's gonna come to a split kind of balance look. So AJ knows he's gonna have him on his heels. If he speed releases, gets hard inside, and then if you watch the route as it develops, he's gonna reset back into number 13 to hold space. right? So if I'm running the route off you, Fran, I'm gonna get inside, and I've gotta lean into you to kind of create that space away from the next defender inside. So if you let it go again, you can kind of see how this whole thing develops, right? AJ knows these speed releases inside, he's got him on his heels, he's gotta reestablish that line, hold it vertical for 2 steps, right? So that the safety now can clear on Dallas is what is going to the flat right here. That'll clear, and then he hits it behind that window right there.
And that's why I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily realize is that in order to create that separation, you have to get close. You got to close that space and get as close to that guy as you can before breaking opposite.
You know, there's a saying a lot of times, you got to get close to get open, and this is a true example of that. He's got to get close to the defender to separate and get open and then clear the window, which Dallas is doing a good job of here getting to the flat to clear the safety out for him.
The fact that A.J. Brown is this excited about Kevin Patullo shows you just how integrated Patullo has been in the Birds offense over the past 4 seasons. It's not just Kellen Moore's offense or Nick Sirianni's offense. It's a combined effort of Kellen Moore, Kevin Patullo, and Sirianni. And my continued hope is that Patullo takes the best of all 3 of those minds and creates the best Eagles offense we've seen in over a decade. Now, staying with the best we've ever seen, well, that was the Birds defense this past year, as they were absolutely incredible, especially in the postseason. And yet all anybody can talk about over the past 2 weeks has been trading with the Browns for defensive end Myles Garrett, which, by the way, I detailed exactly how that works money-wise last week on this video, so check that one out. But it could come at a very interesting cost, as some are now suggesting Jordan Davis could be a piece included in a potential trade to the Browns, alongside number 32 overall and a future second-rounder in 2026. Why Jordan Davis, you ask? Well, multitude of reasons. First off, he had less defensive tackle snaps the entire season than Moro Ojomo, and this year is the 4th year of his rookie contract, which means a 5th-year option the following year at about $11.4 million. And if Philadelphia doesn't think Jordan Davis is worth that, or Davis wants to get more money elsewhere, then trading him now would be the most beneficial thing the team could do for his long-term future. Still, though, I think people are kind of forgetting just how important Jordan Davis is in this defense. Like, the stats and the reps are not necessarily mind-blowing, but his play against the run, especially clogging the middle, is definitely overlooked.
So a lot of things he does really, really well on tape. Take this play here as an example where he's going to do a really nice job just getting right upfield. And with that, he's going to reset the line of scrimmage, and the running back has to cut this away from Jordan Davis. This is a really, really nice job by the young defensive tackle here. He's essentially going to jump right through that gap. Tyler Smith's trying to reach block him, and he does do a pretty good job getting in front of Davis. But because of the fact that Tyler Smith gives up a little bit too much to the inside, Davis is going to jump the gap. The center is not going to be able to reach either. And Smith and the center aren't going to be able to switch, and Jordan Davis gets in the backfield and he resets the line of scrimmage. And that forces the running back to have to cut it towards the left. So Jordan Davis is doing things well on tape that he's kind of being asked to do, right?
Although I get it, like replacing Jordan Davis with a rookie defensive tackle plus Moro Ojomo and also adding Myles Garrett might mean it's worth it. But again, when it comes to trades and trade rumors, we technically don't know if any of this is true at this point, so take it all with a massive grain of salt. And let's say they are false, then I expect Howie Roseman to work on a team-friendly restructuring of the former first-rounder, maybe even sooner than we think. Kind of like I also think the Birds are going to pay Zack Baun in the coming weeks, despite fake news Twitter accounts like this one suggesting, without proof, the Rams could be interested in paying a big price for Zack Baun. Pair that with even Eagle writers like Jeff McLean laying out his roster predictions for the offseason, which includes Baun leaving for more money in the next couple of weeks. Which I personally don't understand because, yes, I know other teams can offer Zack Baun a boatload of money, probably more than Philadelphia, but the Eagles still have a lot of ammo to bring back number 53. And this whole argument that, oh, it was just Vic Fangio's scheme, and so Jeremiah Trotter Jr. could be a Pro Bowler next season if he were to start in place of Baun, I think it's really underselling just how good Baun was regardless of the scheme. Plus, what kind of precedent does it set for future breakout stars if the Eagles do not reward an all-pro caliber play from somebody on a low prove-it salary? My prediction all offseason long has been that Baun is going to be the big signing. He's going to be the one that stays. They might bring back Isaiah Rodgers, maybe Oren Burks. That remains TBD, but you're definitely going to lose Josh Sweat and Milton Williams. Now, I also want everyone to keep an eye on the news out of Los Angeles this past week that the Rams have reportedly given Matthew Stafford's agent permission to talk a trade with interested suitors. And kind of this weird continued story happening in LA that Stafford is getting too old, he's a little too expensive, and the Rams might want to reset. Which age-wise, I guess makes sense, but I think Stafford's still a top 5 quarterback in the NFC, and really was the only quote-unquote star quarterback in the entire playoffs to give the Bird defense a little bit of trouble. Where this ties back into Philadelphia is the fact that the Giants reportedly could, again, the offseason, these rumors, you never know if they're true or not, be a team willing to trade for Stafford. instantly adding even more firepower to the always tricky NFC East. And while I don't think Stafford makes the Giants instant Super Bowl contenders, but he would definitely make them a lot more scary than Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito, or even a rookie quarterback. Again, it's the offseason, take this all with a massive grain of salt, but if Stafford were to lead the Rams, at least it would hinder a very good roster from competing with Philadelphia in the NFC. Right now really is the craziest time of the NFL offseason because all sorts of leaks and news drops and fake news rumors are all circulating throughout the National Football League. Baun coming back, who knows? Trading Jordan Davis, who knows? Matthew Stafford can be a Giant, who knows? But that's what makes the beginning of March so exciting because the actual start of the new league year begins and the Eagles and Rams and everybody else can start doing real business. Although if you're wondering if the Birds' offensive linemen are worried about all the different rumors going around, I would say no, as Lane Johnson posted this pic of him repping out 315 on the squat rack, seemingly working on his body for next season. How about fellow all-world tackle counterpart Jordan Mailata helping a local Philadelphia coffee shop move a 650-pound commercial oven, just big guys using their big bodies to help a friend. Now, I want your guys' thoughts on the whole Myles Garrett, Jordan Davis trade situation. Also, give me your thoughts on the Rams quarterback. What if he went to the Giants? Does it make the Giants instant contenders? I always read all the comments and reply to a bunch of them, so let me know down below in the comment section. Also, we're approaching 90,000 subs, meaning my Zack Baun Super Bowl mini helmet sign giveaway, which will happen once we hit 90K subs, so be sure to hit the red subscribe button and drop a like. Thomas Mott, this has been the Thomas Mott Show.